Hello, this is Royal New Yorker with RivalNewYork.com. I have been really thinking about the Fangraphs claim because it came up in another article today. 83 wins for the New York Mets. I don't think Fangraphs has 32 different people, each dedicated to a team that follow it as closely as I do. They probably do. They get paid to do it. I currently don't get paid to do it. I just do it for the joy of my own heart. But honestly, 83 wins is still sort of disturbing to me. So when I started thinking about it, and it struck a chord once again when I saw 83 wins, I started thinking to myself, did they realize what the Mets dealt with last year as far as injuries? Do they realize? D'Arnaud got off to a hot start the first 2 or 3 weeks, and boom, injured, never was the same again. It's almost like, from a catching perspective, we were injured all year. Regardless that he came back, or that Reyes Rivera did an admirable job defensively, we did not have a catcher hitting for the team. Second base, Walker disappeared right at the end as we had our playoff race. Then all of a sudden, first base, Duda was done probably about 2/3 into the season, maybe even less than that. Shortstop, Asdrubal Cabrera might have played in quite a few games, but he was not healthy, walking around. I mean, how many times did he hop around on one leg after a play, do some bending, and then stick it out? You know, definitely a player you want on your team, but he wasn't at full strength. Wright played 40 games or so. So there's your infield. Then you take a look at the outfield. Cespedes missed a ton of games. I think he missed over 30 games, and really, he probably had about 30 games where he was playing injured with that quad injury. Then you have Lagares, disappeared very quickly, appeared at the end, but still wasn't full strength, couldn't really bat. Fortunately, Granderson has been healthy in all his time. And then, 4 out of the 5 Mets, anyone not named Noah Syndergaard, Mets pitchers or aces, were injured. So what does it look like this year for the Mets to be successful? Because again, I'm earmarking them for 88 to 94 wins, unlike the 83 Fangraph. At Fangraph, I expect a call that I'll be your Mets consultant at that point in time. So, catching. For everything to go right for the Mets, Travis d'Arnaud needs to play 95 to 100 games. We'll say 97 for the purposes of this. 97. That would mean that he likely gets injured, because he always does, but it would mean that for the games he's not injured, he, 5 to 6 out of every 7 games he's playing in. So that's a big thing, is for him to be available in 97 games this year. First base, Duda. I expect him to lose a number of at-bats to Wilmer Flores or Conforto. Flores mashes lefties, and you can't keep his bat out of the lineup. There's no reason to put it in with switch hitters, and Reyes will probably get some looks at third when they don't have Wright in, and Wright mashes lefties as well, so why would you put Wilmer over there? And Asdrubal is not going to come out also. Both Walker and Asdrubal are both switch-hitting batters. So with that being said, I expect if Duda's in there for 120, that means, he stepped it up. He played when he needed to, probably had some type of regression with the back. But 120, and I'm a happy guy because I feel like he's done his job. Second base, Walker, 140. I expect him to lose, to be sat, keep him rested, even though they want him to earn that qualifying offer that he's being paid out. But I do expect that if he can play in 140 games, and again, Mets got what they needed out of that position, but they also were able to give Reyes some looks over there, Flores some looks, because that is Flores' most comfortable position at this point in time. David Wright, third base. If he plays in 65 games, I think we got what we needed out of him, because hopefully gets through the season healthy and then can have an impact in the playoffs, and then the less than half the games goes out the window and he tries to get out there for each and every one, maybe sitting one each series. Shortstop, Asdrubal Cabrera is in the last year, even though there's a team option for him in 2018. I expect the Mets. Med Rosario is in waiting. I actually have his card right here. He's in waiting. He's going to be ready. I think he's gonna pending an injury. He's going to kill it at AAA this year, and you're going to fully expect. People might even get excited in spring training and say, "Hey, let's get him up here. Let's give him time." We have Asdrubal, unless Asdrubal completely falls off of what he did last year. we should, get the most out of our contract with him and then look to, maybe to buy out his option in 18. But I'm looking for 145 games from Asdrubal Cabrera. Left field, Cespedes. Hey, you signed 4 years. You better give up some golfing and expect to play 155 games. We expect there's going to be bumps and bruises. He'll need a day off or so. But he will find his way into at least 155 games this year. Center field. I'm gonna pin Granderson as a center fielder. Hate that I'm doing that. I've said enough. I'd rather have the defense with the rotation that we have, but looks like Granderson's gonna get a lot of looks out there. Conforto will get some looks, but if Granderson can find his way in the lineup, whether it's in right field or center field, 130 to 140 games is what we need out of him in this last year, pending he doesn't get traded or Bruce doesn't get traded. But 140s we're looking at for him with the current outfield alignment. Same thing for Bruce. Again, a lot of these games aren't necessarily starting with Juan Lagares and Conforto mixing in, but they will find their way into either in a pinch hitting or starting games that they are then replaced in the late 7, 8, 9 innings by Lagares in center and moving some things around. I expect 140 games from both Granderson and from Jay Bruce. Conforto, I think he's going to find his way to AAA unless a trade happens or a major injury, but he'll probably get about 80 games at the major. Like, what? Reyes, I'm expecting 135 games, and they are going to look to have him in every game. They're going to find a way to get him into the lineup, but I do think he will suffer an injury. Those hamstrings, especially if they even consider the super utility, putting him in center, awful idea. Maybe he ends up being great, and he's Ian Desmond. I don't want to see that happen. The reason I've always liked Jose Reyes because he was a shortstop. I sort of gravitate towards shortstops because that's what I played growing up. But I expect one. This is the other piece that I want to build in here. I expect him to get in 100 games. He's going to be featured against lefties, and I do expect there to be injuries, that he is the player they fill in. I mean, Reyes, I think, is going to situate himself as one of the starters. He might be a moving starter, but the fill-in once somebody goes down is going to, and again, I'm already counting sort of Wright as being regularly down. That's where Reyes shifts right in. But Wilmer Flores pending an injury to Lucas Duda, unless Conforto does incredibly well. But Lucas Duda, Walker, and Asdrubal Cabrera, expect Wilmer to get about 100 games in. Shifting over to more so innings on the starting rotation, Syndergaard is going to have 200 plus innings. I expect him to go 220 and maybe up. Obviously, especially if they make it to the playoffs. Next up, DeGrom. Based on some of the things that Ron Darling has mentioned, it's moving a nerve. I'm looking at 180, and we consider that to be a success. They're going to still watch his innings because he did lose a couple this past year, and they don't want to just have this be a regular thing. One strong year of pitching a lot off, comparable things were seen by Madison Bumgarner, more so in regression in the way he was pitching after some of those big postseason runs, but he ended up regaining form. We don't want it with injuries with these guys. Too much invested in them and too much of a bright future to go forward with. Harvey, 160. I think that would be a strong year, and we could consider trading him after those 160 innings going into either the trade deadline. I'm not opposed to that. Let's get as much as we can get out of him. Unless we really think we need him to win the World Series, I think if everyone else steps up on the rotation and does what we think they're capable of, we're not going to need him. And I'd rather see us bring in some prospects or bring in another, that's elusive center fielder who can hit that we're looking for. Maybe McCutcheon rebounds. We trade Harvey over to them. Not that I think they would want to do that, knowing he's going to leave. But either way, Harvey 160. Matz, I think 140 innings is what we should probably expect from him. So again, 160 for Harvey, 140 for Matz. Once you add that up, and you try to think, hey, Mets are going to try to target 5 to 6 innings every game from their starting rotation. Wheeler, Lugo, and Gesellman will probably come together from a starting pitching perspective for about 130 to 150 innings. We do expect Lugo, Gesellman, and Wheeler, all of them to work in some capacity from the bullpen, but 130 to 150 from the starting rotation. With that being said, I'm expecting big things from the Mets. I wanted to highlight this for you because it's something I've been thinking about, like what means the Mets were successful and their players played. Obviously, not all these projections are going to happen because there's going to be injuries, but this is really where the team needs to be in order for us to consider this season a success. This is Rural New Yorker with RivalNewYork.com signing off. Check back in for fantasy updates for fantasy baseball. Debo's going to join us, break down the Super Bowl. It's a little delayed, but we really wanted to have him join us as he did predict Austin Hooper and Danny Amendola having a featured impact on the game. So we're going to bring him back in, after his Chris Hogan call 2 or 3 weeks ago. So either way, keep up with us, check back in. Let us know if we're missing something or you have an issue with some of our perspectives. We want to hear them. Gives us more to talk about. So, keep checking in.